Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to Vicky 3. This is episode 11. We've been on no police for a long time, and I was afraid to go forward because the next one, local police force, well, it's a landowner's thing, and it would give them more political strength, and that was the last thing that we needed. But if you skip over local, which actually that's what we have right now, that is the active law currently, so they already have additional. Well, if we go to dedicated police force, there is no increase any longer. Radicals from standard of living would decrease. State penalties from turmoil would decrease. And I believe that 10% bonus in political strength would go away. So we're going to try. Now, here's the thing about it, though, is the landowners don't want it. But there's a fair group that do. Uh, but right now, the rural folk are the only other ones that are in the government. That would give us a 20% chance of succeeding, 36% chance of failing. Let's see what we can do without removing, because take the landowners out and 27% legitimacy, and they're going to get angry quite quickly. Armed forces like it, 23%. But can we do it with them still in government? That would give us 34% versus 36. You kind of have a 50-50 shot at that point that it would work, but I think ultimately the only way you're going to get anywhere is you've got to get the landowners out of the government, at least temporarily. Playing with fire if we take the landowners out of the government, but it gives us a chance. And 23% legitimacy is definitely a lot better than the last time we had this, but it's going to take years to see it happen. But right now, balance is good. We're making money. Economy is strong. We're going to continue to try to grow the economy. But this is our opportunity to start making some headway with the other groups. It's going to take nearly 3 years with this level of legitimacy. But we can, now that they are out, we can step in for the landowners. And, well, we can't suppress. We don't have 200 authority. We'd have to drop some authority. And I think one way to do that is to drop some consumption taxes. We would need to free up, 300? All right, so we freed up a couple consumption taxes. That does hurt the economy by quite a bit. It's still positive, though, and we are now suppressing the landowners. See how it goes. Last time we tried this, it went horribly wrong. The rural folk are getting a boost. The landowners are being suppressed. Will this increase the legitimacy? We're seeing radicals actually fall off pretty quick, down under 400,000 already, and loyalists are climbing. Right now we have a 2/3 chance of advancing, 1/3 chance of success, and no chance of debate or stall. So that's a good place to be in. It's just a lengthy process, as we have, 2 years now to go until we're going to hit even just the first phase. And that'll be 1914. Oh boy. We are getting up there in time. But hey, look at the gains we are making. GDP is rising fast. Just in a few months, we're up to 8.4 million. That railroad in Togo has been a huge success. 40% literacy, 15.9 and climbing. And we have an event. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, we are seeing some good things happening right now, and the loyalists in particular. I think part of the problem that we were experiencing when it came to having the landowners. It's a small group. They have a ton of clout, but it's a small group. So their numbers are not great. And so the number of loyalists, that part wasn't going terribly well. But having two other groups come in and emerge landowners decreasing in clout, we're suddenly seeing more loyalists. We're seeing the armed forces, especially their approval, is high. A lot of groups are quite happy at the moment. I mean, look at this. Over 1 year, it's doubled. Okay, the preserve local police force movement from the landowners is starting to gain some momentum. Support is medium, but radicalism does not exist. And that's important. That's one of those reasons why we are still seeing a decline, and rather rapid decline. I mean, over the last year, it's dropped by 55,000, and it's dropped by about 30,000 in the 4 or 5 months since we started this process. U is having issues once again with radicals for the second time in a very short period. But yeah, the landowners, they're down to 36%. I would think they would lose more clout if we get this passed. Well, they would, right? Their political strength would drop by 10. And that could be the beginning of what we need to finally see them eclipsed and finally see us make some gains here in the late playthrough with, 23 years to go. Now, construction is something I'd love to do, but we have a positive balance, and that's key, right? Wow, the diplomatic pacts at 7,500. France really, really dipping into our economy. We're doing pretty okay. But the problem was those gold reserves, right? They took that huge hit. We went from 1.5 million down to 500,000. And we're up at 2/3 of a million. But I don't want to spend too much time on construction when we are in this situation. Austria has crushed the radicals of Croatia. Landowners down to 32%. The armed forces picking up some of the slack. I think they're up about 4% now. Rural folk are actually staying fairly steady. Standard of living above 16 now. First time we've seen it up that high. GDP is staying steady at the moment. I think the railroad in Togo effect is now complete. So without growing more, we're not going to really produce anymore. But seeing that drop in radicals by a fair bit, seeing that the landowners are somehow remaining not radical, but also they're getting weaker and weaker, down to 30%. Armed forces picking up most of that. Rural folk have picked up about 1% so far. It went from nothing to now a 25% chance to stall. So something happened that has flipped the situation there. It had a 0% chance. That chance changed quite a bit there. I'm going to wait till the end of this first phase to do any construction, but we will take a look at what our options are. Kind of curious where we're at on infrastructure. We're at 54 of 52 in Ghana, so we need to get a second railroad here before long anyway. And we have 2 left in Togo. We have 1 remaining in Dahomey, so we are really kind of playing on the limits. And we are over by 4 in Ashanti Volta, as it's quite low there. But yeah, getting just a little bit over. I mean, you can see it's already taking a fairly big hit on the market impact here. 38%, now 29%. This was like 1.9 million, something along those lines, or was it 2.1? Either way, it's gone up a lot. It's definitely gone up a lot. Here it's only 2.75. It's about the same, and it had so much in terms of base resources, but the difference is we only have this. It's a lot of agriculture, but it's not a lot of urban manufacturing. Where Togo is better. Togo is absolutely better in that, and that is what's making the GDP roughly equivalent, even though the agriculture is less. Unused arable land is starting to get a little bit smaller in Togo, though. Plenty left in Ghana. I mean, tons of room for expansion on that part. But there is a population to keep an eye on. And then in Ashanti Volta, how is that population doing these days? Obviously, the French market part, yeah, that's not good. That's hurting. That's hurting. But the population is growing. It's up to 66,000. And 15 on standard of living. Here, 17.4 and approaching 1,800,000. 16.4. Oh, they are happy these days. 15.1. First phase up to 40%. Hello, hello. That stall chance getting smaller. Landowners down to 29%. Rural folk climbing to 24. Armed forces gaining another percent. Staying steady now over the last year. 380,000. But the loyalists, that's been climbing. Plus 35k over the... Alright, first phase has come to an end, but it did not succeed. We do have a plus 10% chance. Armed Forces Interest Group, or plus 20 prestige. That's a big part of what I'm trying to accomplish with this playthrough. I'm going to take the plus 20 prestige. I do want it to succeed, obviously, but we're going to sit through another phase instead of taking that 10. Look what that just did for our prestige. Our rank jumps to 39th, and that changes the kind of perspective of what we are, because we're an unrecognized regional power. This is going to make us more of a local regional power. Still unrecognized, but yeah, that's a step up. That is a definite step up, and I'm happy for that rank increase. The landowners are quickly approaching the rural folk in terms of clout. It's a big step. That is a big step. That is something we have not been able to do at all throughout this playthrough. And the radicals have fallen off by 40,000. The loyalists have gone up by 70,000, 80,000. And we're seeing, success kind of across the board. The only area we're not seeing success right now is construction sector has been put to bed for a little bit to restore some funding in the economy, which of course we had enough to get active again, but in order to suppress the landowners, we had to turn off some of those tariffs and that, or consumption taxes, that is. That has lowered us back down into, hey, we're putting money in the reserves, and it's approaching $1 billion, in which case I will be happy at that stage to go ahead and get some construction on the go again. But we are also playing with fire in that we have used up pretty much all of the infrastructure we have available. Okay, Togo, making a bold attempt here. Munition plants. Munition plants use sulfur mines. Sulfur is something that's making good money, or can. It's bouncing back and forth a bit. But we're going to increase that. We want it to go into the munition factories that are going to help. It's explosives and lead. We need explosives as an in-between. 50,000 more loyalists. Even with construction ongoing right now, we have a roughly neutral balance. Kind of back and forth between positive and negative, but staying about zero. Our standard of living has jumped to 17.4. Definitely a decent level. Our literacy rate not really changing by much, though. I think we would need a lot more university activity to bring that up, but I think a big part of it probably has something to do with the state of the kind of jobs that we have. People are just not very promotable in society. They're not getting paid enough, and therefore they're not learning a whole lot. GDP still growing, though, up to 9. We got our next phase for dedicated police force just about to end here in 1 week's time. We have a better than 1/3 chance of success. Same for the advance. Still has a chance to stall. We'll see what happens. Really? Is it going to stall? You gotta be kidding me. Right. Wow. Okay. So it went backwards. The something that had a 0% chance that suddenly decided it had a 20% chance is the outcome we ended up with, and now we're gonna have to wait a few years for the next one. Meanwhile, the landowners are slowly regaining clout. They're back to 30%. But at least meanwhile, we have just hit 200,000 loyalists. That's by far the most we have had at any stage in this playthrough. We did recover a little bit of legitimacy since we've made these moves, and it might not be a bad idea. Can we reform the government now? Not in a useful way. I'd like to bring in the intelligentsia because they can help with the vote, but the legitimacy would be gone. Following a change in interest group leadership, we now see we have a near 50% chance to advance this time, but at the moment there's a bigger chance of stalling than there is of success, and we've got quite a ways to go, still well over a year before. The railway is still our ticket, and as the big ticket item, here's what I'm thinking. Right now we have a cargo prioritization to switch to adding wooden passenger carriages. Our infrastructure would drop by 5, which means we would need to make additional railways. Okay, transportation would go plus 15, which means we can make more money in other sectors. Also, we'd start selling tickets, which means we'd have a plus 200 balance. We could get to a point where we are no longer subsidizing the railway, and it can actually pay for itself as we grow and expand it. And that's going to be a big key, because right now it's an expensive thing for us. So we're going to switch to the wooden passenger carriages, and we are going to make more. Weekly balance, already not so bad. Look at that. It's positive. Just like that, switching has made a positive balance for us, just slightly. So there's an instant upgrade that has been quite useful. Now, it took away infrastructure though, so we need to build more, but it looks like subsidy is going to have to remain a little bit longer to continue paying fees. Next checkpoint upcoming in 1 week's time, 24% chance of success. I'm hoping for an advance, as that's the most likely, but it has passed. So for the second time, we had the less likely outcome be the actual outcome. So with this, we should see a drop in radicals. Turmoil is not going to be as much of a problem either going forward. For me, though, the bigger thing is that the landowners, they will be less happy, but they're also going to be less powerful. Instantly, I saw a 2% drop in their clout. And will it continue? And while we've got them out of the government, let's see where we're at for other options. We're at 28% right now. The armed forces of the royal folk are happy. How would the devout feel about joining us? Well, we wouldn't be looking so good with that. Do we want to get the landowners back in there for now? I'm sure it would give us back our legitimacy. It would, quite a bit. But right now I'm happy with them out. Let's see what else can be done now that we have switched to the dedicated police force. Rural folk and industrialists, we have a 22% chance of passing that one. Again, the agrarianism is a possibility. That might be the next option we go for. Serfdom is another one that we would be able to abolish in kind of the same light. And it would make a lot of groups happy if we passed it. You're really mad after. But I think the economic model is going to be the stronger one for us. Alright, we're going to try for agrarianism. Also, as we're into the late stages here with less than 20 years left to play, really need to keep a closer eye on the looming threat posed by an upset landowner group. Railroad expansion is nearly done. Just a month away here. I'm really curious to see how this is going to change. I mean, we do have a negative balance right now, but you can see the weekly expenses versus revenue is in a better state now that we have those carriages. Will we have enough revenue to offset? Looks like balance has stayed really similar. It's fairly neutral with the revenue, even though it's gone up. So the subsidized part, yeah, that just happened. What else do we have? Base production method, nothing. We don't have electric trains right now. And of course, private. Oh, we could go publicly traded. We'd have 200 additional capitalists. We would lose a small amount of money, but it would employ some people at a higher level. But that does bring us up to 130 transportation. So let's see where we're at and what we can do with 130 transportation. One thing I have not bothered to do, logging camps, we have some different options that would definitely change the income of our logging camps. Switching to sawmills would bring us up by plus 2,000. Should have done that a long time ago. It's an advanced stage. There's more things on the market that are available to us. We don't want the hardwood on this one. Alright, so the sugar plantations we've been able to switch over now that we have more transportation available with that second railway. We still don't have everything in the area placed on it. Banana plantations, there's another one. It would be an additional 15 transportation, which I think I have 10 left. So that would put us just slightly off on what we can do. Yeah, coffee plantations are all still looking to get on it. So if anything, we should add another railway and keep going. Checking in on it, the cash reserves very slowly coming up, but look at that positive weekly balance now. Positive weekly balance over, nearly overcoming the subsidies to keep it fully employed. It actually has productivity now. Let's go ahead and push that out to 3, and we have our new path forward is growing the rail industry through public transportation being part of what can overcome the subsidy fees and finally make it properly neutral. I think we have to keep subsidizing it to keep it fully employed, but that's going to give us a lot of boost to the economy in other sectors by using that rail transport. Even if we ultimately have to, kind of put more chance at agrarianism is all over the place. It passed. Wow. Okay, we have agrarianism, folks. That was lucky, because the odds were not in our favor. But we've managed to pass 2 laws in a short period. And we have a positive balance. Bureaucracy is a little bit lower now. Which means we're going to need to get government administration. Big step. Now, the landowners are going to hate this, and they're going to hate us more and more as we are pushing further and further away from them. As they have clout, this is dangerous, but a lot of good things can happen in a hurry, switching off of land-based taxation. Land-based taxation, current revenue, $28K. Per capita taxation would bump that to 45. Proportional, 50. Graduated taxation, 40. No matter which one you take, they've got some positive outcomes. Now, right now, the biggest outcome would be proportional taxation. But where are we at on the support side of things? Rural, armed forces, both like this. That's good odds for us, as those are the 2 in charge right now, aren't they? Yes, rural folks and the armed forces. Let's check what a reform might look like to the devout want. Well, nope. Okay, still don't gain clout by adding, or legitimacy that is, by adding them in. It's the landowners that still control too much and are in the opposition, but also the ones that are very, very much against this. Trade unions oppose per capita. Only proportional is opposed by landowners. Graduation. So proportional, right? You offend the landowners, yes, but if you can get everybody else super happy, you have a lot of people on your side, including the armed forces. I think this is the one we want to go with. We have the rural folks and the armed forces, so we have good chance of getting it passed. And we'd have a lot of happy people. And our income would skyrocket. That would be a huge plus to the government coffers. And then the landowners would be somebody we'd have to somehow, deal with. Land-based taxation, extreme radicalism, 88%. Nope, we are not passing that right now. We are not doing that one right now. No way. Okay, that's going away. That's going away. As things stand currently, that's not a move we are ready to have. Now, do we crush the landowners? I mean, they have a lot of clout, but they don't have the military. They wouldn't have the military at their back. It would just be them, right? Maybe we do want to take on the landowners and their lack of military. It's worth a thought. 16 years to go. It might be worth a shot just before the end of the playthrough to see what happens. Or maybe I do a little check-in to see if you have one isolated interest group that revolt, that have too much power and you don't want them to have power. Crushing them. I know I saw a Paradox playthrough where something along those lines is exactly what they did. They destroyed one of the groups by allowing them to revolt and then beating them up. If the armed forces are on our side, we should still have the military. So, something I'm going to take into consideration. This might be a revolt we want. Or it could be the revolt that ends the playthrough once again. But I think the armed forces being on our side with the landowners trying to rise up, I think with the military backing, we should easily beat the landowners. They're going to get a few peasants to fight for them, but for the most part, it would be using their economic might to try to, raise some levies. I'm thinking. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.